I recently learned that my grandpa passed away. It was one of those moments where the world seems to stop for a second, like time doesn't know how to move forward when something like this happens. The news hit me hard, but what happened next hit me even harder. I remember asking my mom as gently as I could when we would be having the funeral. I didn't know what to expect, but I thought there would be some sort of ceremony, some time to gather, to mourn, to say goodbye. It wasn't just a ritual I was asking for. It was a chance to process the loss and find some kind of closure. I was still reeling, still in shock from hearing about his passing, and I needed something to make sense of it all. But then my mom's response came, and I was completely blindsided. She told me that she'd already taken care of everything. The ashes have been spread, she said, just like that. No ceremony, no gathering, no moment to reflect, to grieve, to say a proper goodbye. She had done it all in secret, spread his ashes without even telling me, without including me in any of it. The weight of those words hit me like a tidal wave. How could she do that? How could she not consider how I might feel, or that I might need to be a part of it, too? I was furious and heartbroken all at once. I tried to voice how I felt, the sense of betrayal that I could never get back the chance to honor him in my own way. I told her that I couldn't possibly get any closure without being a part of the process, that I needed something, anything, to heal from this loss. But instead of the understanding and empathy I desperately wanted, her response was cold and dismissive. She simply said, "Well, I did." That was it. She had her closure, and that was apparently all that mattered. The realization that she was more focused on her own grief, her own process than on me, was like a slap to the face. It felt like she didn't even care how I was coping or if I would ever find a way to move on from the loss. I've never felt so invisible, so excluded from something that should have been a shared moment of mourning and healing for our family. Now I'm left with this aching sense of emptiness. No funeral, no chance to honor my grandpa the way I needed to, no space to say goodbye. And all I have is the hollow weight of her words. Well, I did. I'm still processing all of this, but I don't think I'll ever get over the way it all unfolded. So I've been sitting with everything for a while, and I've been trying to process my emotions, but I felt like I needed to share an update. I didn't expect this post to get as much attention as it did, and I appreciate everyone who took the time to read and comment. It's been a really hard few weeks, and hearing your thoughts has been kind of a comfort. After that conversation with my mom, things didn't really improve between us. In fact, it felt like I was drifting further away from her. I think part of me was hoping she would realize how hurt I was, or maybe that she'd come around and acknowledge my need for closure. But instead, every time I tried to talk about it, it felt like she was shutting down more and more. Like she couldn't, or didn't want to, understand where I was coming from. It's weird. My mom and I have had a good relationship for the most part. But lately, it feels like we're living in two completely different worlds. She keeps telling me that she did what she thought was right, that it was her decision, and that she doesn't need to explain herself. I get it, in a way. She's grieving too, and I know she loved my grandpa deeply, but it's hard to swallow when she's so dismissive about what I needed. I thought we could have grieved together, but instead, it feels like I'm on the outside looking in. Things took another turn when I asked her if there was anything left of my grandpa, like any of his belongings or memories. I didn't expect much, but she said she had already cleared everything out. Again, no warning, no inclusion. I never got a chance to go through anything, to look through his things or say goodbye to the little bits of him that were left. She didn't even give me that. It felt like she was closing the door on him and on me at the same time. I spoke to my aunt about it, hoping she would be more understanding. But when I told her what had happened, she said she understood my frustration, but also added that my mom had been under a lot of pressure. It felt like everyone kept justifying my mom's actions, but no one was really hearing me. I've been trying to find other ways to honor my grandpa. I know I won't get the closure I hoped for from my mom, but maybe I can find it for myself. I've been thinking about visiting his favorite places, the ones he talked about all the time, to say goodbye in my own way. And I'm planning to visit his grave, even though it feels so strange to me. He's not even there anymore. But maybe I'll find a little peace there. Maybe I'll be able to remember him the way I want to. I don't know if things will ever go back to normal between me and my mom. It's hard because I love her, but right now, it feels like there's this huge gap between us. I don't know how to bridge it, but I'm trying to focus on healing for myself. I appreciate the support, and I'm still processing everything. Hopefully, this isn't the final update. Thanks for all the kind words and advice. It's meant a lot to me. This is the final update, and I've been sitting on it for a while now, trying to process everything before writing it down. A lot has happened, and I think I'm finally ready to share where things stand. First, thank you all for the support and thoughtful comments over the past few weeks. It's been such a comfort knowing that people understand and validate what I've been going through. I can't tell you how much it helps to hear from so many of you, especially those who shared their own experiences with family and loss. It gave me strength to keep moving forward, even when I felt so lost. So, after my last post, I tried a few more times to talk to my mom. I really thought I could get through to her, that she might finally understand how much this all hurt me. But the more I tried, the more it felt like we were just spinning our wheels. I'd bring up how I needed closure, how I was struggling with the fact that she'd kept me out of the whole process, but she just couldn't see it. Every time it felt like she was deflecting, like it was easier for her to dismiss my feelings than to confront them. Her responses were still the same. I did what I thought was right. You don't understand how hard this has been for me. It was my decision. I guess in some way, I understood her need to grieve on her own terms. But at the same time, I was still so hurt by how she shut me out. It became painfully clear to me that we weren't going to have the same kind of closure I was hoping for. There was no grand reconciliation. No heartfelt conversation where everything clicked into place. After a few weeks of trying to make it work, I realized something that shifted my perspective. I was holding on to this idea that I needed her to validate my grief, to fix things, to give me the closure I felt I was owed. But the more I thought about it, the more I came to realize that I could find my own way to heal without waiting for her to come around. My closure wasn't going to come from her actions. It had to come from me. So, I decided to go to one of my grandpa's favorite places on my own, like I mentioned in my last update. It was a park he used to take me to when I was younger. We'd always sit by the lake and talk for hours about anything and everything. I went there, sat by the water, and just let myself feel everything I'd been holding in. I cried. I talked to him like I always used to, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. It wasn't about the ashes or the ceremony or anything else. It was about the memories I had of him and the love that never goes away, no matter what. I've made peace with the fact that my mom and I might never see eye to eye on this. I don't think she'll ever fully understand how I feel, and I'm okay with that now. It's not something I can change, and I've stopped trying to force it. I still love her, and I know she's grieving too, but I can't keep waiting for her to validate my feelings. I have to do that for myself. As for my relationship with her, it's still a work in progress. We've talked a little since then, and while things aren't perfect, there's less tension now. I think we're both trying to find a way to move forward, even if we don't agree on everything. The space between us isn't as wide as it was, but it's still there. And I think that's okay. This whole experience has been incredibly painful, but it's also taught me a lot about grief, family, and self-acceptance. I'm still learning to navigate this new chapter, but I feel stronger now. And I'm learning that sometimes closure isn't something you get from someone else. It's something you create on your own. Thank you again to everyone who reached out. This community has been a lifeline for me, and I'll carry the support and wisdom I've received here with me as I continue healing.